Alright, so I have my own perspective when it comes to pot splitting or collusion. I'm not a huge, I can't ever really make it to any live fighting game events. However, I have run tournaments for years. Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Naruto, Warcraft, Warhammer, large amounts of tournaments. I would run tournaments about 4 or 5 a week, Magic being the big ones. And Collusion and pot splitting are both very, very big aspects of both those games. Um, Sometimes it's more of a thing than others. There are actually some games that do say in their rules, especially for special tournaments, such as the Spectral Tiger event that WoW Minis did. Uh, is that players cannot split any sort of prize. They cannot offer money for what if it's an actual physical prize, and they have to play consistently to the best of their ability. So they can't just kind of dick around and say like, oh, you can win. No, you have to do that. Um, and Magic, this happens more frequently because people are so concerned about not the prize usually, but about their points, their DCI points. Oh, I need this many, I need these many points. Let's draw and then we'll have this many. And that's another reason people like having a top four cut when it comes to those sort of events is the cut points don't have as much of an effect on people below, and they have kind of a separate effect on those people that did get top four cut. It's its own little math thing. But essentially, if say the winners got to the top and one of them, and they talk and it's like, I'll take first, you take second, whatever, and they just kind of one of them, if one of them drops or one of them's that already has an effect on everyone else below them that had to play either one of those players. So there's a trickle down when it comes to a point system. Uh, Now, as far as why it offends or annoys people, I know it's less of a thing in Magic because as long as their points don't go down, there's usually not too much worry about it. Really, with the upper level players. And I know this is also a thing with high level Yu-Gi-Oh play sometimes too. Uh, but when you come down from like that, basically I want to say the top 1%. When you come down from the top 5% of players, and you start looking at everyone else who is trying their damnedest to do well. They're really trying. Some people are in it for the fun of the game, but they're trying to win. Some people are like intermediate or advanced level and they've never really won, but they're trying so hard. They're putting sweat and blood and effort and tears into what they're doing, whether it be hobby or video game, just a tournament. Um, and when you consistently see the same people top, for one reason or another, whether it be skill or they have a good card collection or whatever it is, when you see those people consistently top, and then it just you see like the same group of people, and they start joking around, and they start like drawing and splitting pots, and this collusion with points and stuff. It's disheartening. If you're not part of that top percent that consistently does well, to everyone else, it's kind of insulting and disheartening. Now, here's the mindset. If you're someone who does, let's say, mediocrely well, usually, say there's regular 5 round tournaments, and they go consistently like 3-2, maybe once in a while they'll do 4-1, sometimes 2-3, but let's say on average they do about like 3-2, like 3 wins, 2 losses. Most likely they're going to be playing some of those people that are higher up echelon and they're going to get beaten. Now, I stick around, let's say I'm one of those people, I stick around and I watch those top 4 compete. And then they start joking about each other. Okay, well, they're probably friends, they consistently do well. And every week, every other week, you see them pot split. Or you see them just say, we'll draw for points. Or, I don't need all this money. You can take half, I'll take half of it, and we'll just draw and split. That's disheartening. And I can see where it'd be disheartening for people who go to, say, Street Fighter or Marvel tournaments, because you tried. your best. You tried so hard to even do what you were able to do. You might be very, very proud of yourself. You may have, gone to Evo and gotten maybe like, if there's a top 16 cut for finals and stuff, maybe you came in 22nd. Or you came in like 28th, and you've never placed well at a tournament. You did well, and you're psyched, and you're happy with what you did. And then you see the same people almost, they may not mean it, they probably don't mean it, but almost mock that by not even trying. You tried your damnedest, and they worked and were able to beat you. And now they come to this point where this upper echelon, and they're not even trying. It kind of insults the effort that you put in that they had to overcome. The fact that you put an obstacle in their path that they passed, and when they got to the end, it wasn't worth their time to try that hard anymore. That's disheartening. That makes someone feel as if what their effort was, the fact that you stood in their path, and when they get to the top, they no longer try as hard. It makes the effort that you put to say try and stop that or try and beat them, it crushes that, as if in reality they didn't care, you know. And they very well might have been like in the back of their mind, like, oh, this guy might actually beat me. This guy's pretty good. But they're not gonna say that. Especially if they don't say anything, they beat you, and then they go off and do the collusion pot splitting. That's disheartening for some people. That doesn't make them feel as if they were worth as if they weren't even a speed bump to a higher level player. And that's just something that happens, unfortunately. You get these people who really they do well. A lot of people mean well, and they're pretty good off. You will get the jerks. They do pop off. That is the thing. But they're not all jerks. And some people, when they get to that top level, some people might just need the money and they'll ask for can we possibly? Some people might really need the points, and we do that. Um, uh, Personally, so this doesn't feel biased, or if it is, you can judge it from there. Um, I've run all these tournaments. The few events that I've run or I've been part of, I when I was able to get to that top cut, um, I have not colluded or pot split, and here's why. While I'm not the richest person around, and I would like as many boosters as possible, and it's been offered to me in the past, um, it's not something that I feel is respectful to the people that I played and that my opponent played. And I might rub the feathers the wrong way of some of those people who, I've then, played, and maybe they beat me, they get more prize support, maybe I beat them, and I get more prize support, but it should be a competition to the very end. I've yet to see an Olympics where the top two runners got right to the finish line, and then they held hands and walked, over together like, oh, we're friends. That's not how it should be. And while it doesn't affect that top 5%, and they see nothing wrong with it, and I can see why they see nothing wrong with it, it's the rest of the players in that tournament that it can really feel disheartening. And I can see where backlash would happen. Because you're not just dealing with the people that were in that tournament. You're also dealing with people who were ever in a tournament. Because you feel it as well. Especially if you've never made it to like a top cut. Or if you made it maybe once. You feel it. If you get like that top level multiple times, you're like, oh, well, it's nothing. I don't mean anything by it. You can mean that 100%. And you could have no issues at all, and you could look at it like, I don't see why people are having a problem. But that's just it. You can't see why it's a problem, because you've consistently done well in the past. These people, not all of them have. They might have more passion in their pinky finger than you have in your entire body for this game, but they just don't have that skill. And they can try, and they can try, and they just can't get to that level. And then, they'll get beaten by Justin Wong. Maybe it's a close match, maybe not. And then Justin Wong gets all the way to the top, and he pot splits. And you question, and you're just broken, and it hurts so bad. And again, I'm honestly not saying that this is something that they're consciously doing, but that's a big part of the mindset that I don't think Max really even touched on. Whereas it's part of the spectacle, and yeah, that's part of it, part of the spectacle. But I've run many, many tournaments, and there's just that feeling amongst the other players, especially that mid-range, that mid to low range, that just feel just broken by it, and they just feel horrible by it. And they feel like almost like dishonored. That's a bit of a dramatic word. I understand, but that's just part of it. And I feel that that's something that needs to be expressed and known along with this viewpoint. Um, Max, I think you touched on everything else that needed to be touched upon. But whereas you said in your video you've done consistently well, that I don't think, and I don't mean any offense by this, obviously. I don't think you can see that viewpoint, the viewpoint of people who don't make it to that top 8, the people who go to every tournament for the love of the game, for the love of competition, but they just cannot get past that wall, that barrier. And then they see the same people almost, it seems, dicking around at the top, like they don't give a shit anymore, as if your fight with them didn't matter. And that's where the mindset and the drama and the complaints and all that come from. Or at least that's a part of it. And I felt that that needed to be properly expressed, and for hopefully that viewpoint to, for you to understand that viewpoint. Because that is a real thing. I have seen it, I've talked to players about it, and there's been once or twice that I've felt it. And it is a thing. So thank you, and hopefully this kind of broadens the discussion of this topic a bit more.